Because 9 times out of 10, if it doesn't feel right, it isn't right. You will be okay, but I'm sad at all of the harder paths.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Talking to you guys about Christina's letter that she wrote with Henry, and we're going to discuss maybe there's a deeper meaning to some of the things that she said in that particular section of the video. Guys, if you are new to the channel, do me a favor, do yourself a favor. You like it, you share it, you subscribe to the channel, and then you click on that bell button for a notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, well, you already know the model. You got the minerals. Don't forget to get your merchandise, baby. Okay, listen, no, honestly, guys, you need to get your mineral hoodies. The winter is coming, and it's coming thick and fast. You understand? Don't play with me. Alright, cool. So, Christina and Henry's part 2 of the videos that we've seen. We've seen Christina and Henry kind of low-key dueling in the cabin with the little mini shots that they fired for each other, and underhanded comments here and there, smirks and smiles here and there, little lies and stories here and there. But there was a scene which really captured my eyes, and you guys know that I try and look beyond what is just being shown and try to listen to what's being said and what's not being said. And I think with the Christina and Henry situation, you know, as I said in the first review, that Christina outed herself, and we've seen through the footage that she has admitted to being previously a liar in the past. And then for me, that's a big thing, because people who lie, there is sometimes psychological issues that can be underlining here. Now, we already know she's taking something for ADHD, but I'm not talking about just that. I'm talking about psychological issues in terms of trauma. I like that word. You know how I do. And I really believe that, obviously, from what she said, and going off what has said from past particular relationships, where the friend as well that came to visit her some episodes back, I will try and find that footage for you, where he spoke and said, listen, some of the guys that you've dated, I like Henry. He's better than some of the guys that you've dated previously, because simply the last ones that you've dated, they've been horrible, they've been toxic, and they've been mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've literally done you in. And that toxicity of a relationship in the past where you've been demonized and abused, in a relationship where someone is just taken, can really have some psychological effects on an individual. Don't ever play it down as if a relationship shouldn't break somebody. It can break people. When you put your trust in someone, your love, your heart, your soul, your everything into them, and they destroy it, I'm telling you now, psychologically, the psychosis can get you differently. Don't ever think you're above it. Don't ever think you're too strong, because these things can happen to anybody. Yeah? You know what I'm saying? Now, I know I always say you can't come and kill yourself, and you can't. But don't underestimate the amount of stress, pain that can inflict you. And even that, even if you survive the initial bombing of of a heartbreak, okay, the after effects, I keep telling you guys, it's like someone shooting you. The after effects of someone shooting you, it's not the shot itself, but the after effects of you feeling, whenever you hear a loud bang, that you are triggered. So be very careful how we speak about people's trauma. It's not easy just to get over. That doesn't mean that we have an excuse now to behave as you're behaving. That's just a diagnosis as to why you're behaving the way you're behaving, but we don't give you an excuse. All right, cool.
Don't forget that people will say and do things out of anger to you. And try not to take
A few things that were mentioned, I think, you know, and she was saying that people do or say things to you out of anger. And I think Henry reacted at this point, maybe thinking that she was talking about him. I don't think she was. I really don't think she was, because there's not really been a moment where Henry's been angry enough to react to her. She's been the one that's reacting to someone. So maybe that's projection, or it could be that something in the past, because she was speaking to her younger self. Something in the past could be speaking to her. Something in the past could have happened to her where she's experienced anger. I would say even wrath, maybe from either a parent environment or even a relationship or friendships. Right? She seems to have a really good friendship base anyway. But she may have experienced this. Remember, bearing in mind the friend said obviously the past relationships that she had were awful, right? And the fact that obviously that she was quickly engaging in sex in all her relationships, it may lead us to think something deeper was happening here. So about the anger.
It's okay to speak up when you feel like something isn't right. Because 9 times out of 10, If it doesn't feel right, it isn't right.
And I really didn't think this was about Henry or her again. I really didn't. I think the way she was, I'm not a big thing about crying. If you cry, listen, for me, the way I grew up in a household where tears don't move anybody, please go and cry if you want to cry, but it's not moving me to believe what you're saying. You understand? We lock people in the toilets when you are crying. You know what I mean? Like, so tears don't move me. What was moving me is what's being said. And the words that we're saying here is that it's okay to speak up if something isn't right. Now, has she spoken up about Henry and her? Yes, several times. In fact, she's blown out the water. So that isn't, I don't think, again, she's pointed towards that. I don't think she would have formulated a sentence to her younger self about that. I think she was talking about situations in the past where things haven't been quite right. Maybe the past boyfriends where they've treated her wrongly and she hasn't spoke up in time when she saw this behavior and suffered through a period of time. Maybe it was parental. Maybe it was the environment she grew up in. We can't 100% say, but there's something deeper in that meaning, okay? There's something a little bit more deeper because, like I said, you know, that speaking up, she'd already done that in a relationship with Henry. She does it everywhere. She shoots shots at him in the cabin like, yo, she's always speaking up now. So she's speaking to her younger self. Remember, not her now, her younger self. So something in her younger self and to prove that point,
I'm sad at all of the harder paths that you decided to take to get here.
That I should have spoken up about. Now, what did you deal with? You know, in her 20s, what did you deal with, Christina? A decade ago, what were you experiencing? It weren't Henry. Henry's new. Henry's in the 30s. Okay, so something that was painful was happening in that period of time. Now, many women, I'm sure, could identify this. Dating people that have been, toxic, and I mean manipulative, lying, gaslighting, just treating you like you shouldn't treat any human being. You might have experienced that, and the toll it takes on you physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, even financially, it can affect you. Do you know what I mean? And some of it sexually as well. And so we can say that traumatic experience can make you feel a certain type of way. And the fact as well that she didn't have a father figure her father figure was her granddad, not her father. Her father figure was her granddad. And that can tell you a lot about the fact that the space of time in her youth, who was she looking at?
Things when I was younger that I should have spoken up about. And it's just hard talking to my
up to who was guiding her, who was protecting her. You see, because oftentimes when women are left and abandoned by the father figure, they actually do develop a lot of masculine energy. And the reason why is because a masculine energy is all about protection. One of the ways about masculine energy is about protecting the person, protecting something, guarding something, like the rib cage just guards the heart. Okay, it's solid, it's steel, it's strong for a reason, to protect. And so sometimes when that masculine energy is missing, the female can develop that masculine energy to protect oneself so they are not isolated to be attacked out there in the wilderness, which is called life. Okay, and so that masculine energy presents itself in defensiveness, not having your back up against the wall, always having to defend yourself, even when you don't need defending. You just you always feel you have to define and say something about what's happened about you, or say something to someone else to defend yourself because you felt like you're being attacked. And because no one else has defended you, no one's been there for you, no one's protected you in your youth, you've only got you. And when you've only got you, that can make somebody be a fighter. And that fighter is that masculine energy where it doesn't allow for someone to come in. So maybe that also led to the fact that she wanted a masculine male in the sense of the energy that it carries, in the sense of the fact that being that protector, that alpha protector where he leads, takes charge, is assertive. Why? Because then she can rest. Okay? And that may be a case. We don't know 100%, but that may be a plot.
And it's just hard talking to my younger self. It's like, God, you're about to go through some.
You're gonna go through some things. Again, further, just further, highlighting that point that this woman has gone through things, suffering at certain things, seeing certain things, and that in itself is where I'm really wanting to drive home to that. This is why in relationships we may think we're ready, but there are darknesses within each of us. There are experiences in us that really have affected us in the way that we see ourselves and the way we see others and how we treat others due to the fact we see ourselves. Which brings me on to, I guess, the points that she made about as well. She said, she made a point about the fact that Henry's letter wasn't clear, it was confusing. And I was like, but so was yours, darling. And again, this nature that she always has to see fault in what Henry's doing, I think is also rooted in the fact that it's a defense mechanism. I must see the fault in you, and you can't see the fault in me. And I know people like this, and it's like they don't want to be blamed for anything. They don't want to be called out on anything. They don't want to be shown that they're wrong. And the reason why they don't be shown that they're wrong or be blamed for anything is because they're scared of the critique, because they're used to having their own back. And if you critique them, you're not just critiquing their behavior, you're critiquing them. You are actually analyzing not just their behavior, but them as an individual person morally. Are they good or are they bad? Right? And remember that the weight of not having that father figure sometimes can make you feel like, am I good enough? Okay, nobody wants me. And so then when you speak about their behavior, it speaks and triggers them to think, oh, that person's talking about me as an individual. Again, I'm not wanted. I'm telling you, it's some deep stuff. I'm not, again, excusing Christina's behavior because I think she's out of order. And the fact that you were lying on his name, again, just further proves my point. That lying behavior where you have to lie on his name and say he was gay when you knew he wasn't gay, when you are, she spoke earlier on and said about, I felt like Henry was coming after my image. Why? Because he spoke about the fact that you lied. You see, so when you're guarding that image, it's because what you want to do is present this image that you're great, you're good, you're perfect, but you're not. And that comes from a place of not having self-actualization and knowledge of oneself. That, listen, you are allowed to be faulty. But to the person like Christina, being faulty means not being wanted again. Because something must have been wrong as to why nobody wanted her. Do you get what I'm saying? And that need for wanting, that need for being desired, can lead somebody to make them feel this way. Now they're putting up an image. And so her story that her letter she put out there, it wasn't clear. It was a lot of vagueness. There was no definition to it. There was no pinpoint accuracy to what she was saying. So we didn't know what she was saying. We're almost filling in the blanks. And then she mentioned to Henry later on when he asked her what made her write it, said in her 20s she went through some very deep stuff. And for me, what I would say is this. People lie for different reasons. I can break some reasons why. People lie because they feel like they're giving up control if they tell the truth, because the truth might not. And at this point too, the truth might disappoint you. It might even cause them to be judged. And sometimes people lie because certain matters mean a lot to them, but they don't know how to express that because, again, fear of being judged. But then also people lie also to cover other lies. You know what I'm saying? But I think with Christina's case, the lies here that are being told, for instance, about the gay situation, is about preserving her image. It's about making sure that he's the bad guy, not her. She's not ready to cope with the image of that I'm actually wrong or I have got some bad in me, because that would mean rejection once again. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. I know it's very heavy. I know it's a lot to deal with. But again, it's not an excuse for Christina's behavior. No. There is no excuse for your lying. But we can break down the behavior as to why she does what she does. Should Henry be in such a relationship? Well, we already know they shouldn't be. And if you're in a situation, a relationship like this, I would honestly, be a safe space for that person. Say, listen, look, I'm here for you no matter what, and I'm here to give you that space to be able to discuss the issues. But I need you to be comfortable in telling me the truth, because the lies can't continue. It's that simple. And if you're in a relationship and someone's a pathological liar, be very careful. I don't think you need to be. I think you need to give that person space, let them get therapy, let them develop themselves. You are not a counsellor. I keep saying just you. You are not a counsellor. You are not a counsellor. You are not a counsellor. You are not a therapist. Do not become a therapist in your relationship, because I'm telling you, codependency happens. Okay? And then your needs will not be met. Guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for a notification of the uploads. And for those of you returnees, we appreciate you. Stay locked, stay loaded.